I met Jesus yesterday in Waitrose. He was serving behind the fish counter. Nice looking man. Long chestnut-coloured hair, forked beard, blue eyes, meek but strong, if you know what I mean. "I'd like a couple of mackerel, please," I said, "and can you fillet them for me?" He nodded and took 2 sleek fish from among a stack of ice cubes. He cut off the heads and tails, made a slit along the backbones, and then slid a long, flexible knife under the flesh, before removing the fillets with long, even strokes. "Thank you very much," I said. "Very nutritious mackerel," he said. Well, I could have told him that. And cheap. Mackerel's cheap. You need to search out the cheap, nutritious cuts when you're on a pension as small as mine. I wanted to ask him while I was there, thought it the perfect opportunity. How on earth had he managed to feed the 5,000 all those years back? You know, the miracle he performed in Galilee. It's always puzzled me. I mean, how could he, in all honesty, have made 5 loaves and a couple of fish go around all those people? Jesus must have guessed what I was thinking. Well, being the Son of God, I suppose he knows what we're all thinking, but I went ahead and asked him anyway. That was a tricky one, he said. That miracle nearly didn't happen. He leant over the counter. It had been a long day. We were all tired. There'd been a lot of what nowadays would be deemed media attention. The crowds were everywhere. We had to get away, tried to escape them, you know what I mean. "Oh yes," I said, "you took a small boat and rowed to the other side of the lake." I wanted him to know I knew my Bible. "So we could get a bit of kip." "Yes," he said, "but when we got there, the crowds had beaten us to it. There they all were, sitting around on the rocks, in the sand, on the grass, waiting for us. For me to talk to them. Some of them had come miles, their feet torn and blistered. Well, we couldn't turn them away, hadn't the heart. So the crowd stayed, and I went among them, with them, talked them, until the evening. The disciples and I couldn't let them go home without something to eat, and we didn't have anything to offer them." He went on, wiping his wet hands with the J-cloth. "Well, I think," he said, "you know the rest of the story, sir." "Oh yes," I said, you got a boy to give you his meagre lunch pack. 5 loaves and a couple of fish." "That's right," he said. "Forget what sort they were now. Mackerel, perhaps." I winked, and he laughed, a lovely laugh, full of warmth and humour. "But what I want to know is," I said, "was it really a miracle? How on earth did you manage to make that small amount go round all those people? Was it really a miracle, or just—" I held my breath, my heart pumping. After all, this was J.C. I was talking to. "Just spin," he jumped in. "Is that what you want to know?" I nodded. I reddened. He tossed the J-cloth aside, leant towards me, and spoke in hushed tones. "Do you really want to know what happened?" he asked. Well, do you know, when he put it like that, I wish I hadn't asked. The hairs rose on my neck. My blood ran cold. Did I really want to know? Memories flooded back. those young years at Sunday school. Stories about Jesus fed into our systems week in, week out. Nightly prayers by the side of my bed. Jesus wants me for a sunbeam. All that caper. Was all that to be swept aside by this fishmonger? Was I about to have my beliefs shattered? And at this late stage in my life when, with any luck, any time now, I'd be up there singing along with the angels. Or would I? Was Jesus about to change all that? I decided, in that split second, when thoughts zip around the brain at a speed of light, that I would prefer to survive without knowing the truth, would prefer to wait for Jesus, to meet him in his rightful place. Our Father, which art in heaven. Heaven, that was the place to meet him, not behind some supermarket fish counter. I pretended to look at my watch. My hand shook. I've got to rush, I said. What a pity. And just when it was getting interesting. But it's been lovely meeting you, I said. A real privilege. I could feel his eyes following me as I joined the long queue of people at the checkout. I wish I hadn't bumped into Jesus. It's made me think and wonder. It's not a good thing to think and wonder too much. It's wiser, simpler, just to let things go. Faith helps you get on with life and all its trials. Helps you face death. Up until then, I'd coped rather well, I thought.